Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of You Are Where You Need to Be. This is going to be a three-part episode where we are going to talk about teenage brain in adult body and 7 signs of emotional immaturity and how you can recognize it. So let's dive into it. The 7 points, these are how we collected them. They are not like academically collected. They are not from books. These are based on our own experiences. And we could gather more points to them, but we decided to stick to the charming magical number of 7. And the first one is the lovely lack of accountability. The second one is blame shifting. The third one, victim mode. The fourth is impulsive or reactive decision making. The fifth is lack of self-regulation. Sixth is inconsiderate towards other people's boundaries and needs. And the 7, final but not least, is lack of communication and problem-solving skills. So, Nikki, what experience or thoughts do you have around lack of accountability?
Oh, well, I could go till China and back, I think. I've seen this so many times when I try to communicate with people, and it doesn't even have to go as deep as relationships, just everyday life too, at workplaces or anywhere else. For me, lack of accountability is when you are going with your problem or issue to a person and you are telling them what you are feeling about it or what is your experience about it. And instead of understanding it, reassuring you, they just directly start to shift the blame from themselves. And they start to explain you why they are right. And for me, it really feels like directly dismissing how you experience that thing. So one example I could bring is, for example, when you are upset about something because you had a misunderstanding with your partner, they did something you didn't like, and you try to explain it to them. And maybe you're also upset, so you're not coming from a gentle place either, but you're still trying to explain what you went through and how it affected you. And instead of saying that they are sorry and let's talk about it and let's discuss both point of view, they just start to behave like they didn't even hear what you just said, and they go to this defensive mode. Like, no, it's not what I was thinking. No, I mean, I'm sorry if you feel that way, but it wasn't my intention. And no, I don't even care about that because I thought it was not a big deal. For me, it didn't look like this. And no, I don't think that you're right. And I think this is right how I think, and you know.
Yeah. I think all of us has experienced this in their lifetime. And it's not the best feeling because you feel really unseen and unheard and under-supported. And it's really hard because that's where you see that you can't really rely on this person, either fully or in that matter, actually, because it's touching on some deep wounds for them that they are unable to see at the moment. Why do you think lack of accountability is still present in an adult's body and mechanism?
I think it's also leading back to the fact that nobody ever teaches us how to take accountability. And many times as a kid, I think as a kid, this is kind of into our nature to try to get away with things because we think that we are going to be punished if we are caught, and we feel that it's better to shift the blame directly. And most of the times this behavior is not corrected. Your parents don't teach you that taking accountability for something you did is actually a good thing to do. And they don't teach you why it's good and how to do it. So we are all growing up being adults who are shifting the blame left or right because we don't feel comfortable with accountability. Because accountability means that you know you caused something and you stand your ground and you accept how the other person is affected by it. And that takes strength to do so. And also, I think, courage.
I guess courage comes from emotional maturity, which is already lacking because these people were never really taught how to self-reflect and never really taught, as you said, to admit that they were wrong in a safe place. So these people were probably punished for their mistakes or shamed for them. And so they learned that it's a dangerous thing to admit that they were wrong. They have to somehow put themselves in a good light, good position, because they wouldn't want to do anything, bad caused for the other person. Because of that, people develop some kind of blindness towards even recognizing their own behavior. It's not just about admitting. Many people actually do not see that they were in the wrong. And I'm saying this so confidently because I have done that myself too. So when you develop a blindness towards your own blind spots that are mistakes that you're doing, you just keep lying to yourself until you believe, because that was the safest place you could create for yourself, because no one would create that space for you when you were a child and say that, oh, you broke this, it's okay, but maybe next time you could handle it differently, or how do you feel? So this is really going wrong since our childhood, and I would say that it's not their fault, but people should really start to look into their own actions and question everything at some point. But unfortunately, a lot of people choose not to do that.
Yes, that's something I agree with. But I would add that people should understand that if somebody comes to you and they says that something upsets them, or they are telling you that your actions affected them in a negative way, you don't have a place to question that you did. You don't have a place to deflect the blame from yourself and completely dismiss what that other person said. You have to understand that, okay, I did this and it affected the person that, and I will listen to them.
Yeah.
And I will not start defending myself. If they are willing to ask my side of the story then or later, of course, I'm going to say it, but I cannot decide how my actions affected a person. It's the person's decision to do that.
Yeah. The sad part in this is that these people are not at that mature level as where you are. And because they are not there, they are not going to see that this would be something proactive between the two people's relationship and building, and it's bonding, because actually being vulnerable enough to take accountability for our own wrongdoings or anything, even if it's not an actual mistake or wrongdoing, but it has affected some certain way the other person, and you see that, you understand that, but that's maturity, emotional maturity that they have not developed. And why? Because unfortunately, these people has never had the safe place to develop it, because they were left alone probably with their problems. And I'm not excusing them. This is just an explanation why they're functioning the way they are. And it's really frustrating when you are faced with someone like that, because it's a very fundamental bonding place between two people where you are with your feelings. Something happened between the two of you and the other person is unable to see it. And it's not about actually unable to admit it. They don't even see it because they have been living in their own little made up life that is protecting themselves from being hurt. And unfortunately, looking into themselves also can cause hurt to you. And this is really upsetting and understandably horrible between two people when you see that, oh, okay, then I can't really share something with you. And when this happens in a relationship, that's a huge break, because your partner should be able to see and empathize with you. And unfortunately, empathy comes with emotional maturity most of the time. Not always, but in a lot of cases. So if these people didn't really receive empathy when they made a mistake, or they were shamed for it, or they were excused for their mistakes, because that's another part where a lot of I have seen in my life and my environment is that especially boys were always excused when they did something wrong, and they grow up not ever facing the consequences of their actions. And what is happening? Mama will solve everything. Now I may be going too personal into this topic, but what I have been seeing in examples and in my environment is that the mother character would excuse this boy because for some reason they are more favorable than the girl in the siblings. And they just can get away with anything, literally. And oh no, it's okay because he didn't mean it or whatever. And they would do the same sampling excuses for the father. Why? Because the woman feels helpless towards the male figure. People marry and get together with the wrong people. And eventually they just give excuses and it becomes a pattern that they don't even recognize. And they also, like a mother, naturally loves their son, their daughter as well, but somewhere their son more because the father figure is not present emotionally. So they can receive some kind of attention from their son figure, or they are more proud of them, or some other reasons, and they will just excuse it. Or many cases, the sons are more challenging behavior-wise. I have seen that as well, is that they are like more rebellious than the girl. So the mother will just give up at first sight, at first word, and then these people go into relationships, and no matter how their partner is trying to ask anything from them, they are not going to take it seriously until the person breaks up with them, until they see the result of their own actions. And this all comes from lack of accountability and not being able to see their own wrongdoings, and because they were never faced with consequences.
Yeah, that's completely true. It's one of the many stories what can lead to this.
Yeah.
Actually, that people are always somehow excused by their parents or caretakers.
Yeah.
And they never learn how to stand their ground and how to say that, okay, I fucked up and I'm sorry I made you feel that way. And instead of that, they are just deflecting, and actually they don't even understand that how much it's damaging the trust. And trust is a foundation of everything. So it's very hard to build. It takes a lot of time, but it can be snapped in 2 seconds.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think, we already mentioned blame shifting. So I guess we can jump into the second point, which is, why do you think blame shifting is actually coming up for these people?
I think it's because that's some kind of reflex which we grew up with to always just point the fingers. No, it was him, it was her, it wasn't me, I wasn't even here. To get away with situations, or to get away of being blamed, or to get away with taking the accountability. It's exactly leading back to the first point. It's happening for the exact same reason that a person never learns how to maturely understand that they can be wrong too, and their point of view about seeing things is not the only point of view which can be right. This is a very essential thing to understand, that everybody's right is different.
Yeah.
Your right doesn't have to be my right. We can look at the same thing and see something completely different in it. So which of the point is valid then?
I don't think it's about being right in between relationships. That's the thing. It's about morals and about how the other person feels. In how you feel has nothing to do about being right. If the person feels sad, we can argue about you are not right. You are not right to be sad. There's nothing you can do about being sad or that someone caused you something. It's about the actual fact that you need comfort, you need understanding, and you need attention and company and someone who will come and see and feel your pain with you and see you for it. And then after, we can talk about other things that are more logical, less emotional level, for example. But yeah, opinions can vary. And what is right is also a very, very challenging topic. But I think between relationships, we should never, ever thrive to find who is right and who is wrong, because we're never gonna win either way. And I just wonder how this came up within kids, the instinct of blame shifting. How would the human brain think that they can get away with things if they say that, no, it wasn't me, it was them? Probably it was like through testing and trials and failings. And then if they could get away with it, then they would learn that, oh, it worked. Then I can try next time. And then if the next time I'm going to get away with it, eventually it becomes like a reflex, as you said. And no, it wasn't me. It's your fault that you're sad. It's your fault that this happened, not my actions. Don't tell me it was my fault.
Yes. And it's eventually going to lead to a misunderstanding, and the person who got hurt is going to be abandoned with their feelings.
Yeah.
Which should never be the case when it comes to close connections or actually any kind of connections. Because to be honest, even at a workplace, I'm never shifting the blame. I'm always looking for the fact or what is in front of me.
Yeah.
And then I know if I had something to do with it or not. And everybody does the same. Everybody knows. You know if you fucked up.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, you can be delusional, yes, but not until the point that you don't understand if something is really your fault and something you really did wrong. So I think at this point we can agree that everybody have this sense that they can detect they did something wrong. That's why they want to get away with it in the first place. Yeah. Maybe they were even preparing themselves in advance. How would they get away with it if it came up? Because sometimes I see that too. But the point is, everybody knows. And I think the easiest way, and I think it also builds the trust no matter what kind of scenario we are talking about, if you can say that I was wrong and sorry, I fucked up, let's look into it and let's see how this can be avoided the next time. Instead of, no, it wasn't me because I wasn't even there. It was, I don't know, that person because I've seen when they were doing it and I had nothing to do with it and nobody asked me and I don't know. No, it's not me. So which one is the more reliable person? Who looks more reliable? The one who can say, yes, I did that and let's focus on how to solve it now or what can we do with it? Or the one who directly says, no, impossible. I never do anything wrong. No.
Yeah.
In my world, I don't. Doesn't happen.
Unfortunately, that people also manage to gather kinds of people who will support their own delulu and their behavior. Very often, they will gather people around themselves like that. And in case one or two people will try and point out at their behavior that there's something lacking there, or they should work on something, or they have more needs from them, then they will just either exit from that other person's life, or they somehow try and not take accountability until the other person is forced to break the contact with them, because it's just clearly not going to work if they're not meeting a need, a very, very strong need in a relationship where you need to resolve a problem together. And then if the other person is just stepping out already, saying that they have nothing to do with it at the first place, even though they caused it or they were a trigger point in it, then what else can you do? So because of that, they are never going to really, or very few chances that they're going to look into themselves, because they just reject those people one way or another who are showing them the mirror. And
that happens.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, actually, because people like to surround themselves with enablers.
Mm-hmm.
Not with true strong connections, because I think a strong connection requires to be able to say, if you don't agree with something, or if you think somebody is wrong, or they call them out, or they say no, or they say that you're stupid. And of course, this is uncomfortable, I understand. So instead, they're going to look for people who are good vibes only, because we are
no
there
drama,
when it's fun.
Please.
No drama, please. Yeah.
Easygoing.
Easygoing. But those easygoing people will turn their back on you just as easy as they were in your life.
Yeah.
So you choose your own company, and most of the time, those people who have like crazy amount of friends around them, I say friends because I don't think that you can really maintain quality connections with too many people. I mean, maybe somebody has time for that. I don't know. Most of us has other things in our lives too. And quantity means more shallow. And more shallow means they care less about you as an individual, but more about the mood or the vibe you are bringing at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or to that activity you are doing together. And as you mature, as you get older, I think you have more quality connections, because those are the ones who gonna stick with you. Those are the ones you can ride through the waves. And the shallow connections are coming and going. Those are replaceable ones, because they were not even really there.
Yeah. But then it shows as well that those connections, if someone was to do this to us, then it just proves that that was also a shallow connection at the first place, which is very painful to admit and recognize, because if it wasn't, then the two people could have solved it already, that problem. That's the issue there. And it's very painful truth to recognize.
It is painful, but what is not in life? I think everything is painful, what you eventually learn from.
Yeah.
This is called an experience too. And I think genuinely you also feel if you are at the right place with the right people or not, because if you're not, you feel just as lonely, even if you're surrounded yourself with 100 people. And it looks like from the outside you're having the biggest fun, you will still feel alone and not understood and not backed up. Because I think in true friendships, I don't have to go far, just with you, for example. I think if I really, really had a huge problem, you wouldn't even ask a question and you would be there as a support.
Where is the shovel?
Yeah. But it's going in the same way. No questions asked.
Yeah.
But that's what's called trust, and that's what's called a strong bond. And it takes time to build that. Yeah. But when it's there and you're consistently taking care of it, it becomes even stronger.
Yeah.
If you're not, because you go for quantity, then that's what you get. So don't cry. Maybe I'm a bit
but I
edgy
think
now.
Also that's okay. You are allowed to be edgy. That's fine. That's where the fire comes, and the thoughts and everything, the feelings. It's good. We should never suppress them.
I have some fire in me about this topic at the moment. So.
That's why it's good that we can talk about everything that's on our mind. I think it's a wonderful thing that we can process together and with other people, and finding the safe place where we're allowed to do this and there's no judgment whatsoever. The thing is, I just kind of feel some sort of sadness towards those people who don't even recognize what kind of shallow relationships they are in, because it's kind of like they are stuck at a child's mindset, because I can't believe that as children we were able to really truly bond with another child. It was at very surface level, or what is your favorite toy, what we go to the same class, we managed to play together. There were certain levels where you could connect, but at that time you didn't have the maturity and didn't have the life challenges that would bond you together with those kids. And I feel like these people kind of got stuck on that level.
And it comes back to the adolescent, or not even adolescent mindset, the child mindset, actually. Because for children, it's important to be popular.
Yeah.
For an adult, I think it's important to be as real to yourself as you can be, and whoever sticks around.
Yeah.
You are already so set in stone with your identity that you don't care if somebody doesn't like you. You don't need to be the center of attention anymore. You just need to be in the good environment.
Yeah. In the healthy cases, but unfortunately a lot of people, because they haven't healed a lot of wounds from their childhood, for example, being seen or understood or feeling empathy when they were down or in trouble or made a mistake or anything, they just develop this shell around themselves that would bounce off any kind of lessons and self-reflection, and then they just got stuck there. And there was nothing to penetrate that defense layer and show that they could actually thrive a lot more and a lot better and feel much safer if they were to open up and be vulnerable and take accountability, stop blame shifting, looking into themselves, and then grow more and have quality relationships over those quantity ones. And it's really sad that they are not there. And to be fair, even though I have had my own share of ignorance in my life as well, I never really felt the place to surround myself with a lot of people. So in my case, for example, I freaked me out. People freaked me out. I don't want to interact with people. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to do anything. But it's still I believe that the less friends you have is the deeper and the stronger and the better. So I do wonder where is it that it's coming from for those people, that they feel safer at the surface level, but not truly actually, because are you really safe at a shallow water where there can be medusas coming around you, that they just, they are just orbiting around you, but they're actually not your kind in that sense? I don't know. It's a weird metaphor, I think, but...
Yes, for someone who is still hiding or looking for their identity because they haven't found it yet, which is completely normal, I think, especially in a young age. For those people, this is basic. I think that's how they live their lives. And at the end, later on, when they mature or if they mature, they will start to see things differently. But everybody has their own timeline for this.
Yeah, I hope that they define that. And then I think we can move on to the third point, this part's last point, which is victim mode. So why victim mode is useful for these individuals?
Because they can always see themselves, the ones who were hurt and who were wronged by the other person. I don't know, I can tell you countless times when I expressed myself to my previous partner, for example, and I told them I felt uncomfortable with a certain situation or how they behave and why it's happening like this and why it's happening like that. And they just dragged out things from the past which happened to them to justify that behavior. So why I shouldn't be mad, because it's not their fault. It's their trauma. So they have the trauma and they unfortunately cannot run away from it. And this is causing them all of these problems. And at the end, they turn the tables. And if you're not experienced enough to recognize this tactic, then you start to feel sorry for them. The poor thing. Oh my God, really this happened to them.
I know,
not
I've
me.
been there too.
Not any. And maybe that can be labeling me as heartless from the outside, but I don't do this anymore.
Good. Good. I think that's
I
good.
have the crazy eyes now. I see it like
we need to have that sometimes, it's not easy. It's not easy with people. I have done that myself too, both victim mode, victim mentality, as well as feeling sorry for the person who is shifting the whole problem and putting themselves as the victim and not acknowledging that I have brought up some issue and, for example, turn it around like I would say, I would like to spend more time with you and I would really appreciate if you were communicating more when you are not available or something like that, which already sounds horrible, to be fair now that I say it out loud. And then the other person would say, but it's not fair because I'm so busy and you know that I wouldn't want to do this and whatever. And these are the little things that you need to really pay attention to, because people, as soon as they don't take accountability, also, they can take accountability. I have examples for that as well, verbally, but not in their actions. And then the follow-up actions will not actually align with their words. And that's where you feel confused because something is weird, something is off. So all of these little things, if we notice, we pay attention to, and what is it that you need, what is it that you're looking for in life, from relationships, friends, workplace, anything. And you see these little shifts. They are not dramatic most of the time. It's just a little bit of change of words. And then you immediately, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry for bringing this up. I will try and behave differently next time that I put you in this position, even though I was the first who has been suffering and had to bring up something to the table.
Yes, and that table was completely turned. Instead of sitting there together, holding each other's hand and getting up from there, being both understood. Instead of that, you came with the issue and you are walking away feeling like you again have to be next time more understanding because the poor things.
Yeah.
They were so overwhelmed and you just found them in the wrong time with this and they are already so tired, and even you are going there with your problems when they are exhausted by life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't understand. You should understand.
Well, I did for a while and then I no longer... I understand, but then you don't need to keep giving the energy after that.
We understand what's happening. You just don't give a shit anymore. Like, okay, so do your thing, then be tired or do whatever you want. And then I move on with my life.
Yeah, I bring my energy and use it for something more useful.
Yeah, because this victim mode is really, it's not leading anywhere. I also advise against it, to stuck inside it, even if you were done wrong by somebody. Don't look at yourself for too long as a victim, because that doesn't lead you to process actually what happened, to understand and to move on if you're stuck into the victim mentality.
Yeah.
And this is really dangerous. Yeah. Because if you always see yourself as the victim of circumstances, then you are stuck.
Yeah, because in that case, you're just feeling sorry for yourself. Again, focusing on external circumstances. This person has done me so wrong and now this has happened to me, and you are feeding all your limiting self-beliefs to yourselves, as well as rejecting any kind of self-reflection. That would help you to see why did you allow the whole thing to happen at the first place.
Exactly.
And you just keep being the victim, and then just nothing else matters, just that I'm in pain, and that's it. Everyone please feel sorry for me and cry with me on my shoulder, because I need that. And unfortunately, this probably comes from also feeling unseen as a child, never really understood or heard. And the other case is when they were excused for their mistakes and behaviors, and they don't mean it, they didn't mean it, just let them be because they're tired, they worked so hard in the school or at work or whatever. And then they just learn that helplessness. And it's so easy to pull out from their pocket and then say, oh, I can't help it. I'm so tired all the time. I can't manage my time. I'm so tired. And this is not my fault, and nothing. Again, zero accountability for them not being able to manage their own lives and blaming everything else instead of looking inwards. So it's all connecting together.
Yeah, this is one, because how you talked like right now, a person manifested in front of me from my past who was the textbook victim. She had, I think, narcissistic tendencies too. But she was such a victim of life always. Like, she cannot get a job because life is just so unjust, and this is happening and that is happening. And everybody who was more successful and they were actually trying to do something, they were always just lucky. Or in the beginning, she told me that I must be supported by my that time boyfriend, so I can do this and that. I was like, I'm not supported by nobody. You can achieve this on your own. Just start doing something.
Yeah.
And she was in this mindset, and I was in that time of my life and I still try to save people. So I thought that I can like lift her up. And at the end, of course, she just stabbed me in the back. I think, long story short. And she actually started to tell things behind my back to a person who thankfully told me back, which were projections from her own personality. And I couldn't recognize who she was. I mean, I couldn't recognize myself in how she was talking about me and my personality. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I was there for this person. I hold their hands. I was supporting them, encouraging them. And they are such a victim that, unfortunately, that's not how they see it. They were a victim again. And then they just look for a different audience, because when you are tired of it and you don't want to see them that way anymore and you express it, they will just start to look for somebody who will still see them like that because they need it.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you felt so disappointed in that relationship as well as betrayed, but somewhere you are also taking accountability, if we are talking about it, saying that you did not manage to recognize this person's traits.
Of course. Yeah. I was horrible also because I defended her all the time. And
it's not being horrible.
Even though that current relationship of mine saw clearly what was happening and was warning me about this person, I was like, shut up, you don't know, we are so good friends, because I was starved for a female friend who had this similar interest what I do. And I was completely blind for it. So, of course, I was also stupid, but I take the accountability for that.
Don't say stupid. No,
I mean,
it's just
naive.
you were blind. I think you put this so beautifully, that you were starved for that connection because your needs were not met for whatever reason. And because of that, you failed to see that this relationship, this dynamic is not healthy for you. And this is what actually happens to a lot of people. And they don't see that they are lacking something from their lives, that feeling seen, understood, being in the same situation, having a best friend, having someone in their lives, or having deep conversations with someone. There are so many needs that people can have, and they are lacking it. And we tend to latch on to people who show any kind of signs of that need being available for us.
Yeah.
And this is how we become blind. And then we have to go through this to see and experience the pain that, oops, that person was not what I thought they are, because I prematurely labeled them with all the things that I'm looking for instead of waiting for them to show. And I have done that all the time with all of my ex-boyfriends and also friends as well. So it's not easy because we are doing this from an automatic way. But you were open to grow. That's the difference. And other people, they come out of these exchanges still telling themselves that they have done everything correctly, and still afterwards blaming everything else, the circumstances. And this is what's limiting people in growth.
Yeah, because it's easier. I understand it's easier. For me, it's also was never easy to look in the mirror and say, okay, you fucked this up, this, and this. Because I'm also just a human and I not always take the right decisions or the correct decision. I make mistakes, but I owe them. I'm like, okay, happened. What did I learn? Which direction I'm taking?
Yeah.
And I'm just going. Let's wrap up the short episode and we are coming back soon with the second part of it, with the rest of the points. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.